You were a young leader.
Yes.
You know, you were a bit of a dick.
Maybe still.
Maybe still. All right, welcome to Offscript, part of the Wild and Wise podcast, a place for creative business minds where we explore stories, concepts on how to stay ahead in a fast-changing world. We'll dive into areas of reinvention, where work, identity, and technology are constantly evolving, moving around, knocking around. And today, we have a really special guest. Mr. Paul Soon is here, and I will let him introduce himself. So, Paul, welcome to the podcast.
Hey.
Over to you.
Thank you.
Tell us who you are and what you do, man.
Thank you. I didn't quite know that I'll immediately have to work. How do I describe myself? I think that I have, as I shared with Ben, I think I've lived 3 or 4 parts of my life. I just turned 51. Just trying to deal with what it means to turn 51. But yeah, I mean, I've been in the creative business for the last 20 over years, predominantly based in Singapore. I've started my own agency. I've run agencies. I've gone through life-changing moments. I've made some core decisions about how I want to live my life. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Yeah.
Partly also because I think I'm going to take this opportunity to be cathartic for myself to figure out the next 30 years. So this will be great. So I hope that's enough for
That's the other name of this
me.
podcast, cathartic.
Cathartic. yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Release.
And if I say anything that you all don't want me to, you just kick my leg.
You're fine enough. Yes.
Can.
Nice.
But yeah.
Look, we wanted to have you on because this podcast is about the changes that around us, personal, the world around us, right? Our businesses and all that kind of stuff. And also just explore what it means and, how are people dealing with it and how people surviving and also succeeding in it, like you. So we'll get into your story a little bit more, but maybe just to kick it off and then we can just jump in. For people who might not be familiar with you, obviously you're a CEO of a very large agency network in Singapore, I think China as well. But you started off obviously Ngee Poly, I think, right? And then you went to uni, marketing comms, and then last 20 over years in advertising. You had a stint in a startup and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So it felt like that was the plan.
Okay.
Was that the plan? You got into the plan and then kicked out.
Maybe I'll do a bit of a life story.
Yeah. Tell us.
Only child.
Yeah.
I think whenever I meet people, I always give the excuse that I'm super extreme INFP. So like after this, right, I got to go home and sleep for 2 hours, 3 hours, then I can regain my energy type. But I think I've been forced to be a bit more extroverted. And I think being here today, thanks for having me here, because I feel that maybe there's some stories. And while we can see the outcomes of things I've done over the last 20 over years, the beginnings of it, I think when I first started, Ngee Ann especially, I made it to business comm first in Ngee Ann. And then I heard about this mass comm thing. I was going like, wow, so cool, right? Then I saw, wow, so many girls in this course. Then I said the ratio is like 10-1. I went like, being a kid with so much pimples on my face, inferiority complex, all that, I thought, I need to do something for myself and challenge myself. So everybody needs to know I joined mass comm because of the girls firstly. And then I had to take all the tests and so on and so forth, and I made it through. Somehow I made it through. I have no idea how I got through. And I spent my time in Ngee Ann, and I think the formative years in Ngee Ann with that was good because I majored in radio. I think radio helped me find my voice. I think that if I had a choice, I might have continued in that career itself.
Oh, here you are with the mic.
I'm now here with this. Maybe this might be the start of something. And when I left school and went to the army and I came out to find a job, that was the first Asian economic crisis. The first time I learned about networking is that I had to ask my CEO at that time to help me find a job. So my first job I got was at Safra Radio as a copywriter producer.
Right.
So I wrote jingles, I wrote all sorts of stuff for MINDEF. And that's how I got my first job. And I wrote like raps for like MINDEF and Safra and all that.
Wow, raps.
Yeah, raps. And I had, I know that tape, I had it somewhere, but I just can't find it anymore. And that was, I think, my first step in terms of being in the creative world. So I didn't start like a business person first. I really started as a creative, if you will. And then I understood the sales process. I got sales guys who come to me, hey, can you do a quick script? I don't tell my boss type. So I had to really figure that out. So I did that. Really had good colleagues who showed me the way. I had to write Mandarin scripts, man, at that time. And my Chinese is thorough. And
And no ChatGPT to help.
And exactly. So I used to write in English, and I would send text to friends. That time got no internet, was just starting only, right? I'll email them and say, hey, can you send it back to me in Han Pinyin, please? So I can read my own scripts to the Chinese DJs, and produce jingles that way. So I think
Hotmail them.
any way to do it, text them. And I think that also showed me my ability to be resilient with the situations I'm in, and I'll find a way. And of course, through that, and then the internet grew. The desire to be part of the internet boom grew really strong in me. So then I joined a local startup that sold ERP solutions, and then I interviewed for a role in agency.com. It was a big thing then, agency.com. It only started in Hong Kong. Long story short, interviewed the guy that hired me. I started working with him a bit before even starting work. Both of us talked together and we said, we won't join agency.com. So on the first day I'm supposed to join officially, I resigned on the first day. And he also resigned.
Yeah.
So my boss resigned with me when I was supposed to start on my first day. And we started the agency called Ad Inc. Sorry.
Ad Inc. Yeah.
And Ad Inc. at the time was supposed to be advertising and digital. It was supposed to be that whole integration. And we were fortunate that we managed to get some good clients like Palm. And for me as a young man, I could learn from those who were already established, but I could also find my own voice and path. It exposed me to the acquisition world also, because after that, 2 years later, we got acquired by Sequoia Capital, like Accenture Technology and AKQA. And that was the early iteration of AKQA.
Yeah.
Prior to the whole story around Drogo 5 and all that, right? I mean, I'm not as rich as him, of course, because guys, maybe I won't be doing this right now. But I understood the whole process of acquisition, because that would lead to how I managed to be a bit more successful in my other job when I was in XM at that time. In speaking to founders and getting, a few acquisitions done in those days. So I think those were the true formative years. And everything else in between, I would link it to, being prepared and luck and timing. And now in my current job, I've always told people that while I came from the digital world and this job now is so creative, I think the last maybe 18 odd years in the digital world really set me up for this role. I really feel that it matured me and allowed me to really be good at what I think I am in my 40s.
So going into Ad Inc., did you know what agency life was about?
no.
What do you know what advertising? How did you pick that up? Who were you learning from?
I had two partners that were already in the business, so I could learn from them. And the people that we hired were individuals who were really good in their craft.
Right.
So I think I was really fortunate. And I think that's what lacking is today also, right? Like real mentors, people who've been in the business for a long time, what it means to be in the business. And I learned from all these individuals closely, whilst at the same time being an extremely young man. And I'm pretty sure hated and loved at the same time. Because young, what do I know? Just because I wear the boss hat, everybody like, okay. But I'm pretty sure I was a bit of a dick also when I was young. I'm sure. I mean, anyone who says that they're not, when they're young in roles like that, would be lying. So, but we all learned after that. But yeah.
Nice. I mean, I guess in those days, advertising was a lot of that kind of character, right? People who fell into it, you go in there and then you learn. I'm sure you were like that as well. And you were schooled into advertising. How did you get into advertising?
Actually, I started on the client side. I think maybe where we connected. So I was at HSBC.
Okay.
I think when you were in XM and there were some projects.
With Penny, is it?
I think it's even before that time.
Okay.
And then I had an opportunity actually to move to Hong Kong to start a Hong Kong office of the agency, and that's actually the shift from. So I'm one of the few that actually moved the other way.
Okay, nice. Was it Gilbert?
Gilbert, yeah.
Sorry. It's like, okay, cut, but
Gilbert, yeah.
Yes.
I think to me it was kind of like very similar to you, right? It's like, again, just sort of taking the risk, or not say taking the risk, but more like, okay, there's this path that I can go back to if anything goes wrong. So why not just take the path that maybe will make for a better story.
Yeah.
I want to touch on the leadership bit. You were a young leader.
Yes.
You were a bit of a dick.
Maybe still.
If you were to kind of advise some younger audiences who are in leadership position by chance, not because they're founders, right? Sometimes you bopian, just have to freaking step up to it lah. Because I started a company, shit.
Yeah.
But I have no experience in leading people, maybe a bit in my past school days or in army, whatever.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
what are the one or two things you feel that, if you think back,
Yeah.
would have helped you be a better leader?
Yeah.
Being a dick or not is subjective or whatever. You know,
100%.
it's how what
Yes.
would be one or two things you feel that would benefit someone
Yeah.
listening in?
As I keep reflecting upon my life, especially just turning 51, you have to keep friends who really would tell you the truth around you all the time. I think that they're the ones that should be able to and must be given permission to always call you out.
Yeah.
Because when you're in leadership positions, you tend to assume that you have earned it already.
Yeah.
But you forget where you actually come from. And I think that sometimes in life, we get so caught up with it that we really forget who we are as people. And we think that we have to be something else in order to be at the top.
Yeah.
And I think that confidence can only be built through time, of course,
Yeah.
making some mistakes here and there.
Yeah.
But it's to really keep your ego and pride at check. I think that's one of the biggest thing about leadership is that are you able to leave your ego at the door? Are you able to catch yourself? And if you can, then good. But if you cannot, then make sure you have people around you to guide you or at least correct you or to show you the way.
Yeah.
But that's also not to mean that you don't make your own mistakes. So it all is two sides of the coin. On one hand, you want someone to call you out. On the other hand, you must be brave enough to make your own decisions and be accountable for your mistakes.
Yeah.
I think if you can balance these two things,
Yeah.
I think you will be a much better leader. And sometimes leadership does not appear in the way that society wants it to appear.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's really defined and I think defined by those who are around you more so than what that should be what the corporate world or the external world should see it as.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important for me.
I agree. I wish when I was in early leadership roles that I had mentors who could come beside me and say, it's either it's okay or hey, you don't have to behave like that. You don't have to try and be perfect, right? I mean, obviously, like what you said, we go into roles not 100% ready. And we're going to make some of those learnings through mistakes.
Yes.
But as a leader, you also have to show up. You have to project something to your team, and I wish there was somebody next to you that goes, it's okay, here's how you do it, you're doing well, keep going, for example. I think that's useful.
I think the army has taught me one thing. I mean, when we say care for soldier, I think it's not just about safety. When I was going through OCS, I think I took a lot from that. When you say care for soldier and you bring it to the corporate world, it's really about the individuals that you work with. And you don't, in the army, they look at that also, right?
Yeah.
But in the corporate world, as we were talking earlier, Ben, they don't quite ask those questions. They look at what you've done. Oh, have you been successful? Your business grow? Revenue.
Yeah.
But nobody have ever asked you, okay, how have your people developed?
Yeah.
And I think the more evolved questions would be around those areas also, because culture really is so important.
Yes.
And businesses, let's face it, I've always got this thing in my head that, when I retire or move on or die, the business will still be around. But what you do then matters more than what you think will be in 50 years in my mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how I think about things.
I think we talked about this idea. There are people who are good managers but not good leaders.
Yeah.
And as in they understand how to run the business part of it, which is how they are viewed, right? In terms of in the corporate world, in terms of bottom line and all the other stuff. But then the leadership part is the intangible stuff that are the stories that people talk and tell about you, right?
I mean, if I may expand a bit more, I think that when it comes to leadership, and another thing to be mindful of, maybe a third point is that when a decision is too easy, sometimes it may not be the right decision.
Yeah.
The right decisions are always the hardest decisions.
Yeah.
And if you avoid the hard ones, you don't want to feel that, then you got to really question whether you want to be a good leader or not.
Yeah.
Agree.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not about being vulnerable but yet strong.
Yes.
And how do you do that?
Yeah.
Is there an example that you can share?
Wow. A practical example is that in situations where you unfortunately have to tell individuals that work closely with you for many years that unfortunately they have to move on, how do you do that in the most empathetic way without thinking so much about your own position and your own role and what it means to the business beyond that conversation with that person? And how much can you do after that? How much can you really push your leadership and control and power to make decisions that may or may not be what your boss like, but for who you stand for, and how far can that go? And if you can really ask yourself that question and be really uncomfortable to put yourself out there with that, then I think that's growth. Because the easy thing to do is to go, here's 3 months, so sorry, bye-bye.
Yeah.
But then I don't think that's the way. I think we have a greater responsibility if we feel that part of our jobs is to improve people's lives.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's, again, comes back to purpose and intent. But I think that's something some young leaders struggle with. I don't blame them because their KPIs are as such.
Yeah.
So yeah, they don't go by how many touchy-feely conversations have you had in the week, right?
Yeah.
Pressure comes from the top.
Yeah, and if you don't have that safety net of friends or partner that really can understand you, it's also difficult on young leaders because you take the emotional baggage. How do you offload that also is important. So I think that ecosystem you build around you is truly critical.
How do you find that's changing, right? From the time you start off as a young leader to today, obviously, probably 1 or 2 generations are coming through.
Yes.
And the way they absorb information, the way they accept leadership is also very different, right?
Yes.
I mean, those days were the days where we say, or write 100 pieces of copy before I accept one, or don't accept any, or work all night kind of thing, right?
Yes.
How has that changed for you?
Firstly, I think I read some report that even for relationship advice and leadership, people go to ChatGPT first.
Deep seek
I've
now.
seen
Or ChatGPT or interview, what do I think that's okay because at the end of the day, you get a bit of a cheat sheet to certain things. But you cannot not live life to the fullest in order for you to not be authentic.
Yes.
If you commit to the journey of wanting to lead, then you got to live life authentically. You're going to make your mistakes. You're going to fall. You're going to do everything that comes with it. But then resilience and resolve needs to exist. And if you ask me what has changed, I think we were too concerned about being perfect.
Love it.
I think we were too concerned about what you think about me. I think we're too concerned about, yes, in the past you might have done certain things and you're worried about whether that will come up again and so on and so forth. My answer to all of that is to own it. It is who you are. And those that value you. Those that don't.
Yeah.
The world's very big. Don't live in your own head. Start living outside of it. Because what matters is the next conversation with another person. And can you take what you've learned and say, now be better? Now, I think that will fuel yourself also. That's why I'm here. Because I'm going to repent for all my sins and going to let it all out here.
I love it, man.
This is your Calvary.
This is my, yes, exactly. 51 years worth of, here you go, guys.
And that's sustainable as well, right? Rather than trying to be something you don't want to be. I was just telling Paul I was in a leadership training all week and
Very tough life.
Very tough
life. This had military principles in it, and I mean, again, nothing new with these kind of courses, right? But it's good reflection, good reminders. But they had a definition of leadership which I kind of forgot, right? It said like leadership is all about being able to influence people by being a whole list of words that we know, right? Empathetic and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And then he had a last line that we always forget, in order to complete the mission. And we always forget that, right? And then we try and be all those middle things, which is empathetic and nice and listening and transparent. And that's a good person. But leader needs to complete the mission as well. And I think, I think a lot of people in our jobs, in our teams are not just there to be nice. I think they want to feel fulfilled. They want to be part of a bigger mission and vision as well.
I think when you're authentic, everyday and consistent to how you want to lead, the good and bad conversations will always be better. But you have to be consistent. You cannot one day think textbook leadership is like this. Then next day, because something you don't like, then all of a sudden you are your authentic self. Then the people around you also don't know how to react.
I think to your point, it's like all the like your principles and your values are consistent. Then sometimes the decisions are maybe not what everybody wants to hear, but they understand that you're making these decisions from a good place.
Yes. They must see your heart.
Consistency creates a level of calm trust, right? If the leader is inconsistent, what you get, I've been in organizations like that, you get a very nervous organization.
I agree.
Super nervous. The leader is like extremes, polar opposites every day. It's so hard to get foundations locked in.
Psychological safety is number one in any organization you want to work in. They accept you for who you are. I mean, aside from all the buzzwords that goes around, but you just accept people for who they are. You focus on your strengths. But I've also lived a life where I try not to anymore, like go on this journey of like trying to fix people's weaknesses either. I think my last many years have been about just focusing on their strengths. And trying to get the best out of that. And being a bit of I put you together with this and that, and then, you cobble things up and then you get the best outcome.
What would 20 plus year old Paul, as a leader in that point of time, find the most surprising about you now?
I think when I was 20, I was really too worried about how people would look at me a lot more than I am today. But of course, most people who come to 50 plus will say, with time, I mean, you can see that on Instagram every day, right? When you get older, then, you can be yourself. But I think if I were 20 now, if I understood some of this and really apply, I believe that I'll be doing different things. In fact, maybe I might be doing something that might even impact the world even more. I think I restricted myself by assuming what conventional norms dictate my life with, even though I was an entrepreneur in the beginning. But then I never continued that journey. Why? Maybe because not confident enough or no real belief, or I give myself excuses. That would be something that I would probably have done better. But if I were to look now at 20, look at myself, then I think I will also say this is an old man sitting there reminiscing his past and now saying, I live this life and I will tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But I think if you ask me another way, Vincent, I would say that there's still some similarities I feel now 30 years apart. I can laugh like an 18-year-old. I can, with my close friends, behave as though I'm 18 again. And that's the part that's liberating.
Nice.
It's not about being older. Actually, it's about being your younger self in a space that you feel that you can.
Yeah. Liberation is such a powerful word, I think that's like when you find yourself, when you find that authenticity, you're able to function the way you are, not giving a shit about whoever looks at you. You're in a space of primal power, you're really going to lead that way,
Then now the question is, how do you lean fully into it to create something different, right? So that's where I'm at today. Like, can I lean fully into really who I am? And that's the part that I'm very honest about. Like, I can say these things, but can I really harness what I'm saying and really turn that into something else? That's really the challenge, regardless of whether I'm 50, 60, 70. It's just going to be that constantly.
Nice. I wish I could be like you on Instagram every day.
Shout out, follow Mr. Paul soon.
Follow, you'll put it down in the caption somewhere, and we'll have all the links necessary.
But we'll get into that. I mean, going into a tangent conversation then, in the space that we all came from, advertising and marketing, right? What are the biggest changes? And you guys jump in as well. We all know this, but from your perspective, where are you seeing the biggest
from
changes?
an industry perspective, right?
Industry perspective.
I believe that some of the fundamentals actually have been lost over the last 15 years, especially when data has come into play. Now, data is really important in trying to inform decisions, but we've also taken away a lot of how we feel from a gut perspective. And I think creativity actually must come from that. But in order to build that gut, you need to live life. I come back to living life. You need to talk to people, you need to see people, you need to be able to be vulnerable, to have conversations, to feel the emotions of how your different audiences are feeling so that you are able to really be in their shoes. And being empathetic doesn't come from data points. Empathetic comes from living a life. Now that I feel is a bit missing. I think the younger generation will go on holidays because they do that more and then more access. My time don't have cheap flights, right? So let's just stay in Singapore. But it doesn't sometimes translate back into the work. It feels like it's an escape versus something that harnesses and adds to their life. And I think that's something, if they can bring it back to work and see as a fuller life and say, okay, now I can really use my gut instincts better, then I think that would totally benefit the industry a lot more. Because I think in the industry, we're still storytellers. I think we all still learn things better through storytelling. And I worry a bit with AI. I mean, I champion it, but I champion it from an efficiency perspective first. Not because I want to change jobs or ask people to leave. I think it's for me to then be able to tell a story to say, hey, you can now focus on really what's important. Right? Use your human capacity to its fullest because now you have technology to help you augment it. Now there's no excuses because now you have the third hand, a second brain to really push your boundaries, right? As opposed to, oh my God, you're going to take my job. So if we can live in that world where human is constantly in the loop, then I think the industry will flourish. But it still goes back to storytelling. I think there's a lack of that today. I don't feel compelled anymore to watch ads or to be influenced by brands. That's why the smaller brands do so well because they have a story to tell. They are forced to tell a story because I must tell you why you must buy my product. Right? So all the fringe brands are doing so much better. The big brands are just losing its plot slightly because why? Cost issues, margins, pressure, shareholder demands. And I don't blame them. But if you shift too far away from that human story side of things, then I fear for the industry. I fear that we won't have enough storytellers anymore.
Yeah.
I fear that people like myself will be considered as the old man sitting by the campfire telling stories of the past. Then the young ones go, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because if you come back to modeling and mentorship, they wouldn't know how then to produce compelling pieces that will move people. And I feel that brands who want to be in culture is great. But I think the real question is, why are you really relevant to culture in the first place?
Yes.
Your brand, does it really come from that place or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, it's okay, then own it.
Yes.
I think the whole thing is about owning it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great things that will come out of it.
Yeah.
I would love for the industry to have a positive conversation around it.
Yeah.
Instead of talking about replacing jobs.
Yeah.
I think it's how we shape the narrative that's important. And of course, it's easy to say replace jobs. It's easy, what?
Yeah.
It's harder to say, no, I will help you change. We will grow together.
Yep.
If I want a headline, I will always say replace jobs.
Yeah.
Why? Then you will click and read.
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah. But the harder thing is building agency for change.
Yeah.
And I think we need more of that.
Yeah. What do you think?
I was going to actually ask you. You said, I mean, in your favorite film was Moneyball, right?
Oh, is it? No. Well, yes,
well,
yes.
one.
Yeah.
Like, it's an interesting show because it's a contrarian way of thinking about how to run a baseball team. So, like taking the same analogy, like what do you think like most agency leaders get wrong about building agencies?
You see, Moneyball is a great example, right? You get the data, you still got to put people together.
Yep.
You have misfits together. And actually, these are the outliers. The outliers, when you put together with a real story and an intent and purpose, are actually more powerful than those that you think on paper are great.
Yep.
Because they might follow the vision instructions better because they wouldn't have this preconceived notion that I'm joining a crack team. But they're part of a journey.
Yep.
So what they sold is a journey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Granted, everybody go like, alamak, you're changing my game, you're making it boring.
Yep.
You're like, but the realities are that it's proven to work.
Yep.
But that's just half of it. The other half of it is like, telling, hey Ben, you only play in the second inning. That's all I'm going to use you for. Because why? Your percentage in second inning is like that. But you're going to contribute to the team.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think being a leader means that you also have to be intentional with each person and say why they're important to the entire process. And not just say, you're here.
Yeah.
And then leave it alone. And then you expect them to perform.
Yep.
Chances are it won't happen.
I think there's also a notion of that traditional roles have changed, right? And I think a lot of agencies are still using that model from 20 years ago.
Yes. And the roles have changed, but the outputs are similar.
Yep.
It's still about building compelling work.
Yeah.
And results need to occur. I get it. I mean, like at the end, I'm not holding back from change. In fact, I'm driving change. But I feel the responsibility to always be that voice to say, let's hold back a bit and let's really consult our clients properly. What would they lose if we go through too much of this?
Yep.
Because most brands will go through a period where saliency will drop. We want full relevance on social, TikTok, and so on and so forth. Great. Nothing wrong with that. Are you dealing with saliency also? Are you dealing with that connection or not? Because surely you can't build connection through a third party, right?
But
that one, that one is called cheating.
But dashboard won't tell you that.
Of course, 100%.
Yeah.
But I think, again, why I feel that the industry should tap into silver foxes is because if you talk about foundational work and what the past represents, you need to take that and then bring it to the future. You can't just forget all of it.
Yeah. I think the industry has also trapped itself into this all conversation. It's either digital
or nothing.
or traditional. Young creatives or older creatives, right? We haven't really thought about what do we actually need to do and how do we bring the ends together, because those two things need to come together. All the performance-based work plus the brand building and storytelling. I think those are the things that need to come together. And it's funny, I don't understand why it hasn't been thought about, or how do we bring it to life, right? But we've trapped ourselves with this, it has to be performance-based versus brand and storytelling.
I mean, we're always caught up, especially in our industry where our margins are thin and, at the end of the day, how we make money is through the backs of people's sweat and blood, right? Every time I ask another individual to work over the weekend, is in service of the margins. It's in service of the business. Do I feel guilty about it most of the time? Yes, but I have to do it.
Yeah.
But then after that, what? I think that if that's the case, then they must gain something out of it. As leaders, the projects that you choose, the clients that you pick are critically important.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, if you have the desire to also stick to your guns and say, hey, storytelling is also just as important, then find a way, man. You don't have to hire everybody full time. You can bring in people at times and be consultative, but yet share a vision. And go through a journey together. I mean, at the end of the day, when I'm done with this career, I would love to sit down with people whom I've had a long journey with and just be laughing about it. I wouldn't want to be talking about another campaign or, this or that. I want to be saying like, hey, we tried, we did it, our way, we failed. But at the end, I want to be able to see individuals to say that I tried. But when I say I try, it also means for the business. And what we stand for and what we believe in.
Is there an example of how clients are working with you on this whole AI / new era of marketing? Is there an example you could share? I mean, confidentiality around it, whatever.
Okay, firstly, maybe I should start with us as an agency, firstly needing to understand what it means and the values that it creates, right? It has to be value creation also. In order for the clients to go, this is useful for me. Of course, clients will nowadays have their own path also, because they're tasked to do so. We also have to bring something to the table. I think the best relationships that we have is when clients give us a business problem and then we say, this is how we'll solve it. It's always the best that way. Plugging in halfway is never going to be easy. So we have a very simple brief from a client that wanted to be closer to their Japanese roots. It's a Japanese brand, but through social itself, maybe found that their inconsistent messaging does not allow them to fully leverage their Japanese roots, right? Because Japanese qualities stem from different things, right? It's an easy way to communicate to you as a person. If I say, I'm me in Japan, I'm here in Japan, right? And using AI to help, we found a very simple, elegant solution. We just say, okay, fine. If you want it for social, for performance, then what's the best way to navigate this whole issue about copyright and so on and so forth? These are early days of AI. And then we went, okay, let's use origami.
Okay.
Very simple solve. So then everything that we executed in order to control and have brand governance is to say, okay, origami, train the model so that every asset that's produced has got a bit of an origami feel that immediately from a visual perspective give you a sense that, and if you see the brand, you know it's Japanese, but now it's even tighter and closer. And then from a regional use perspective, then it's very consistent because there's at least the executional consistency. So with clients, we try to find all the low-hanging fruits around value creation with consistency of production first to capture as much efficiencies as possible and yet be effective. And that's one of the simple examples. Today, now we're highly advanced, right? Like now we talk to Adobe with regards to Firefly, and then we talk about custom models, and then we talk about how can we take all your 100 years worth of assets, build a model such that we can also do all these things. But if you talk about how I just give you a small example to that, it's just an amplification of that. So that's how we are typically working with our clients.
And how does the team feel about it? Like how do the creatives feeling about it? I mean, earlier you talked about how you got to go outside, and even before AI, I think the planners weren't even going outside anymore. It was Google, but now with AI, it becomes even easier. How do the teams feeling about this?
I think the teams are generally excited by the possibilities of what you can do. Again, the augmentation of it is exciting. For the automotive brands where they really value the look of the cars, and now you can really create virtual studios online with real Unreal Engine and so on and so forth, right? That world is exciting. And if I were a creative, I'd be excited because now I'm forced to also be a director. Last time as a creative, you come out the street, you still go to a director, right? Now I'm thinking to myself, you are everything. But if you run away from it, then you're afraid of being creative. And that's my challenge to them. My challenge to them is being creative doesn't mean that you just come out with one thing. Now you really have to really think about the lived-in experience, the entire experience of the brand. That should be augmented with the use of AI, for example. And how it goes through everything else. So that is a constant reminder of my creatives all the time. I think I also try my best to show them that we're investing in their careers because if they want the next job, they have to be they have to have those skills. And I think one thing I'm proud about my last 7 years in Mullen, right, is that when I first started, I didn't change anyone. I kept the entire team. And the team is still with me.
Amazing, man.
And we still transform through time. But that's really through internal storytelling, selling a lot of koyo also in the same breath. But understanding technology and how it
Sorry, say that again.
selling a lot of koyok. Of course, I mean, at the end of the day, how can you not sell koyok? But I will caveat koyok with storytelling. But I think that has been the consistent story I've been telling everyone. I really don't care what you've done, where you come from. All I want you to do is to be able to know that you need to evolve and change. Then we'll be successful together.
So you're saying AI is making it better?
I truly 100% believe that AI helps us augment certain things better.
So is there a pressure of faster, cheaper also?
Of course, there is the pressure of faster, cheaper. Procurement from client side will definitely say that it is, but they got one side of the story. What I really enjoy is sometimes I will be so transparent and say, why don't you come in and sit with my guys and you see see for yourself. Yes, you can save 3 days, but the intellectual power to drive the 3 day savings does not preclude the fact that I'm using cheaper resource. In fact, I'm forcing my guys to be smarter. So you should value human capital behind the technology. And if other sectors in other industries, if you're building a rocket today, you're a scientist, right? And then you have the same conversation as we have in the advertising world, right? The person will tell you, we've already built a rocket. Whereas you spend 6 months trying to figure out how much is this supposed to cost. It's weird. We don't value human capital as much because we assume that volume is the game, but quality actually is, for me, the real thing.
But those are procurement standards. It's efficiency, effectiveness.
And I don't blame them. Like I say, I don't. And sometimes I feel like it's a question of whether, again, the individuals are willing to understand or not. Or you just want to do a job. I think our industry in the creative world demands people who want to do more than the job. Because this job demands everything. And therefore, from the entire ecosystem, from procurement to clients to agency people to our production house partners that we work with, everybody must know that this job demands more than just the job. Because it deals with human capital every single day. This career that we've chosen is the one that I think is the most intensive with regards to human capital. Because you're forcing people to be creative. You're forcing people to be creative and fast. Then you say good, then you say cheap. Where?
The impossible Venn diagram.
Absolutely. 100%. Then are we surprised with burnout? Are we surprised with people with mental wellness challenges? Then when it happens, we go, really? I mean, guys, this is right in front of your faces. I think everyone has a responsibility to pay.
And I know we're still going through the
I'm going to lose
change.
my job, I'm sure.
No. I'll help you get back in there. I'm sure we're going through all the changes, right? With all the consolidation and everything. But maybe inklings, right? What does the future agency look like?
I think that if I use this simple process of explore and exploit, then if I turn it the other way around and say exploit and explore, I think we really have to exploit technology to its fullest in order for human capital to shine. And what do you mean by human capital to shine? Which means that then we can be very effective in what we do when the clients spend their money. And think the future agency, and I won't go into 50% AI, what this, all that, the kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, new technology will happen, right? Then we will have another different conversation. I think I'll just go by the philosophy of how I see it is, we'll move lah. I think human capital is still king. You still want the smartest people around, but those who are able to augment best. And then you need to have those who can work with the technology in order for visions to be fulfilled. And I think that to me will be the philosophy of what the future agency should be. And I know the agencies that says, I got 1,000 agents running around, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But again, I come back to my principles, and maybe I'm all wrong, guys. But I still come back to my principles that the creative industry is the most intensive industry for human capital. I'm pretty sure the product design space is the same thing. They also worry about, right? I mean, the UX world also very worried about. But how can we then turn those people who have got those skill sets into something that then adds more value and make things better lah. Because right now I think we're producing a lot of stuff which people don't need.
The velocity of all the stuff coming out on just any platform. It's just too much.
It's way too much. And I mean, we came in the world also of personalization, right? I mean, how's that different from what we're talking about today also, if you ask me? I mean, it's the same journey. Imagine 15 years
It's a nice
worth.
wrapper.
Of course, imagine 15 years worth of creating that kind of content, how much junk you've left in the internet.
Agree.
Then that feeds into the training models of LLMs. I mean, like, oh my God.
But the other thing is also it's making everyone, all of us, the audience, learn how to disassociate, not pay attention. And attention is the currency.
Then
so it actually flips the other.
It's a big problem.
Correct.
Which is why then saliency again, it will be a challenge. How do we reach out to people is hypercritical.
I have a higher order question actually.
Oh, yes,
about
please.
AI.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Because
Let's go.
you did your Oxford AI program.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there talking about obviously AI, right? I think, I guess from you, what is one, I guess, surprising insight or uncomfortable truth about AI that no one's talking about?
Yeah. Love this question. I can talk for hours on this. Two things for me. One is the fact that if we continue this way, we talk about sustainability. I think no one's really talking about the very fact that we actually use a lot more computing power now with AI than if we were talking about crypto. Okay, so to me, that's one big topic that we don't talk about. And of course, organizations are not talking about it yet because, hey, I got no answer to sustainability with that, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing for me. Two, you know what really struck me the most, and sorry, I'll tell a small side joke. You know, I'm going to use Oxford a lot because there's a joke like, you know, how do you know when someone went to Oxford? Because someone will keep saying it, right? So I'm going to keep saying it.
That's McKinsey as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so in Oxford, okay, to be fair, the last module that I went through, even though it's like AI for business, the whole conversation around ethics stuck with me a lot. And when I asked the prof there, like, you know, how far do we have to go to actually establish ethics in the use of AI? And then he mentioned Aristotle.
Oh.
So that's how far back they feel that we have to go back to talking about ethical values. And that was really interesting for me. Because I think, again, too much power in the wrong hands, not great. But what they use it for is important. The narrative around it also is just as important. And that surprised me because I didn't expect to be such a huge supporter and proponent for ethical use and where the humans are in the loop, as compared to if I would have just said AI for business means all or nothing and I'll just use it to make money all the time.
Yeah.
That, I won't say it's totally surprised me, but that I think brought something out in me that I always felt strongly with.
I mean, that's interesting because everybody's just talking about the value extraction of AI, but not the...
Yeah, it's
cost.
but again, I don't blame that narrative or the desire because we still got to make money. But again, if you're in this position, it's easy, I will say easy to say that's a one way to tell the story. It's harder to say I'm going to bring all of you on a journey. Where I'm going to keep all of you, I'm going to influence you to value the fact that things will be augmented and you can be better at your job. And then we will succeed together. Then to say, hey, I'm just going to extract all these things now and then, okay, fine, you can grow, you can make more money for the organization. Then, but that's your path. It's fine. I'm not, you know, against that. It's just what you want in life.
For the context of people listening, you went to the Oxford Artificial Intelligence program, right?
Yes.
For business. That's
yes, in Oxford, yes.
Was it easy being a student again?
Was it easy being a student again? I know this is going to sound really self-serving, but when I turned 50, I decided to give myself a gift. And instead of being a cliche, and now I'm going to cliche myself again, I decided to give myself the gift of education. So I decided to go become a student. And I thought, why not in a space where everyone's talking about? And I'm by no means an expert. By no means at all. Even after finishing, I still don't feel like I am. But I just really enjoyed being in an environment where I take time off to really think about things critically. And sometimes in life, you don't get the chance to always do that unless you make a conscious decision to be outside of the system so that you can think about things critically again. So I think that 12 months being in Oxford, being a student for 1 week and then doing all the papers I had to do gave me the opportunity to challenge myself again and rethink about what I feel technology is to humankind, if you will, or in our industry at least. And it felt good. I mean, of course, it feels good, right? It feels energizing. And then also in the same breath, I could realign my purpose and communicate why we have to do these things.
Because when we were in school, we pushed back against education, right?
Yes.
But it always feels like now you go, I want more, I want to learn. Was that your experience?
Okay. Now you pick a point. So vanity also came in. I could have gone to, let's do it in NUS or something like that.
You're going to insult somebody here.
But because, those who know me when I was younger, I'm definitely a terrible student. Skip class to play rugby all the time. So I challenged myself a bit and say, just like getting into mass comm. If I want to give myself something, let's give myself something that I myself personally can feel proud of, that I've been there. I've tried my best. As a uni, I didn't go there. So maybe now I got a bit of ability to help myself. Then why not Oxford? I still had to write in. I still had to write a paper to say why me. And I don't regret it. I think it's a wonderful place to learn new things and to challenge yourself, the people that you meet. I was just talking to another friend of mine and I encouraged him to also do the same thing. When he turned 50, I think if you have the means to, find something that you always wish that you should have done when you're young and go do it.
You're thinking about the same, right?
Yeah. I'm also planning to do another degree in psychology.
Great.
Yeah, it's just because of this new journey I'm on also.
Yes.
Like, you've been working so hard in corporate, you've been doing all the things you are doing. Sometimes you just need to level up the thinking.
Yeah.
And not level up the thinking of just one dimension, but actually also broadening
Yes,
it.
yes.
You know? And weirdly enough, I'm a really shitty student, barely passed my exams, never study in uni, somehow always get by. But all my friends are wearing, what the F are you going back to school again?
Yeah. Exactly, 100%.
Why? But yeah, I thought it was just adds another perspective, and it's also good timing. I think now with the knowledge and experience that you have,
Yes.
you have a lot more depth and understanding.
Yep.
Correct.
It's not academic in some way. It's actually academic plus like a bunch of layers and filters that you're going to put it through.
Yep.
And it's going to hopefully shine in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's my inspiration. And I saw you do it, like,
love
wow,
that.
Paul's doing it. Wow, okay, good. Very, very cool. Because not many people do it.
Yep.
Right?
I think it gives you permission to be exploratory.
Yes. Yeah.
And my other advice to those who are in the corporate world who are around our age, right, is not to wait for the organization to do it for
100%.
you. Right? I know I sit in the position of privilege in a way, but it's okay even if it's something that's not so far-fetched as where I went and whatever it is, right? But it's the intention of then going, I'm not going to wait for something to happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just going to do it for me.
Yeah.
And by the way, if it helps me with the future, then great.
Yeah.
But it also is a great representation and a great model for your children.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it in episode 1, right? Whereby most people allow change to happen to them.
Yes.
Versus doing something about it proactively. And adding that elasticity to your own career and your learning and your knowledge and all that. And I think what you guys are doing is that, right? Preparing yourself for change rather than wait for change to happen.
Yeah. Don't put your fate in somebody else's hands.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Own it. Go for it.
Yes.
Plan for it. Give it a shot.
Yes.
And be active. And then what you said last time also, just have outcomes and outputs. Do
Yes.
stuff.
Control your controllables.
Yeah.
Don't assume that someone is going to be there to lead you and guide you the entire way. You have to control your controllables.
Yeah.
Yep.
It takes time, experience lah.
It takes practice to do so. But I think most of the time we forget that sometimes we hold back is because we feel that we don't have the permission to do so. I mean, of course, I get it. Like, you have a family, it might be young family, and then you don't want to, you assume that you take that money and then I think that guilt needs to kind of disappear a bit. Because if you don't improve yourself, then even if you have children, then they must be able to see that that's doing something for himself, and when he grows up, he'll get it. He or she will get it.
No, I
hopefully
agree.
they also do it also, right?
I think most people build those kind of artificial barriers themselves, right? I mean, those are real barriers.
Yep.
Those are real, not artificial. But as in, we build those walls for ourselves. Money, time.
Yes.
My work is so stressful.
Yeah,
kids and all that kind of stuff, and then we don't give ourselves that opportunity.
I think a lot of people just need the encouragement and to feel like they can.
Yeah.
It's not about safety net. I mean, they have to own the outcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, control the controllables, and one of the controllables is the decisions that you make.
Yeah.
Those are your controllables.
Yeah. What did your son say?
My son say, I don't know. I think he just wants the merch.
The hoodies.
The hoodies.
My dad went to Oxford.
Yeah. I got to do that. What is it? It's not just Oxford.
Yeah.
My dad went to it's intentional, right? Even the intention to be a young father was intentional. The intention to be in sports and all that for him and all that in short is also intentional. Doing this was also intentional for myself and for what I feel that is authentic to the message that I want to share. That's to me important. I don't even think that doing it means that I'm going to get a higher paying job or promotion. I don't think so at all. If that's the goal, then I think it's wrong.
Yes.
It has to be for yourself. Or for the people around you that you want to influence. Then
The value you bring to others.
100%.
That's really
correct.
like-
Then that's more valuable than next promotion.
Correct. You spoke a little bit about health and all that, right? You know, you all know that you're on this journey.
Yes.
Been quite a while. This journey, this is called a weightlifting journey. How would you describe that?
My
that journey?
Olympic weightlifting journey.
Olympic, wow, okay, Olympic weightlifting journey. Yes, correct. Yes.
It has been about
The other
coming to-
Oxford.
The other Oxford, yeah.
has been about maybe 3 years.
Okay.
I've been on this for 3 years already, and I decided to do it because over the last 10 years, like actually, when you see, I started my journey in this whole full fitness thing. I mean, when I was young, I already played a lot of sports and all that. But from my 30s to 40s, I kind of let go, right? Because that's the working, and then you're like, okay. But in my job, I was forced into change because things were happening around me that I could not control. And then one day I woke up and said, I need to find something that I can control for myself. And that's where I started first with the body transformation thing.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I could control what I eat, I could control how I work out, how I wake up in the morning, and so on and so forth. Right? I empower myself again. I think that was the journey. But through that, I also realized that I enjoyed mastering certain things. So I went to kettlebells first. I got my certification for that. And weightlifting came in because I wanted to master something and go back into competitive, well, I won't say competitive, but I go back to something that was sports that I can compete in.
Yep.
Because I wanted to again put myself out there. I wanted to again put in the effort. And it's mastery. It's not like just go there and do something. This one requires time, and the journey is non-linear.
Yeah.
It frustrates me, but yet at the same time I still go back to it.
Yeah.
But all of it is within my control.
Yeah. How do you get into it? So
How do I firstly?
How do you firstly get into it? Was there someone you said, they introduced you to it, or you said,
I think this is something which I just wanted to learn. It started with I want to learn.
yeah.
And then after a while, my older son saw, then he also said he wants to join.
Yeah.
And then it became a journey that we both are taking together.
Very cool.
And he competes. I don't really compete because, old man, but I do my best. Yeah, I humble brag all the time.
What record was it?
No lah, I mean, guys, when you're the only one in that age group and weight category, then it becomes a participation medal lah. But, I also look
So
at
I can get silver next time.
yeah, 100%. Come join
bronze.
me. Yeah, bronze, and then, but I think I just looked at the numbers and the national, I won't call them records, but at least just the records for the age and the weight category. And then I just told myself, okay, if I'm going to put time and effort, then there's the goal, right?
Cool.
Let's try to do that. And then, of course, now being very competitive, now I just want to get to a point whereby the numbers are at a certain level that maybe you'll hold for years, right? At least I've done my part. Again, when I have all these thoughts, I translate it back to how my sons would see how I see things. I try not to nag. I try to do first. Then,
By example.
then hopefully they buy into it.
Yeah.
And
That's leadership too.
I think when I have two boys, and I think it's different if you have daughters, because I will have no clue because I don't have a daughter. But I think when it comes to boys, that kind of representation is important. Then hopefully then life values come through that way.
Yeah. Yeah. How is this? I mean, health is such a big topic these days.
Yep.
And unfortunately, like you, and the last time we met, there was also a very blur encounter.
Yeah, yes.
But how's
You mean blood alcohol level? Is it?
Different training.
different kind of weightlifting?
Exactly. 100%.
Is that part of it?
Couple tunnel.
Working my wrist. Is that part of it as well? Thinking about health and how you perform at work and all that?
Yeah, it speaks again back to values of what sports can give you.
Yeah.
How to be a good loser is a very important thing.
Yeah.
How to be gracious in winning.
Yeah.
But how to also put in the hard yards when no one is watching. You don't expect anybody to pat your back. You own your journey. What you put in is what you take out of it.
Yeah,
And nothing is linear, just like life and business. Resilience is built. And then you also understand community, because you also want to be working with good people around you, right? Then you take all of that and you say like, in my workplace, can that translate also? No? So I think 100% all the time is relatable for me. But again, if sports and wellness not your thing, then find something that you love, but take that and figure out whether it can help you at work to be a better manager or colleague even. And maybe we didn't really touch on this, but another thing is for me is like you don't always have to be the boss. When we talk about influence just now, I think sometimes being a king maker is just as important as being the king.
Yeah.
And influence is a much powerful tool than boss.
That's what I find interesting about getting into a new space and learning something new. I think we were talking, I was telling you, I was picking up paddle recently, and you go there and everybody's better than you, everybody's younger than
humbling,
you.
yeah.
The coach is like half your age, but
Yes,
yelling
yes,
at
yes,
you.
yeah.
It's humbling.
Yes.
But it does teach you, right? It just
Grounds
teaches you. It grounds you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my weightlifting coach is definitely way younger than me.
Yeah.
How do I be coachable at 51?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And actually learning something like that when it's mastery versus just pure brute strength
Yeah.
requires you to really be coachable. And can you be like that or not? Now, I'm not saying at work I'm coachable also. I'm still trying to understand how do I take that part and be coachable at 51 in my job, right? It is, how do I really be conscious about it? Because in the gym I can because I decided to do so. At work sometimes, I don't know, right? My ego comes into play or my biasness comes into play. How does that translate? I'm still on that journey. But if I can do that, then it'd be great because then I'm pretty sure I can. That's why people got coaches.
Yeah.
I'm still, trying to figure out that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think sports is a great teacher.
Yes.
Super powerful.
Yes.
Right?
And everyone's is a leveler.
Yeah.
It is.
It doesn't care where you come from.
Yeah, I don't care.
You just go out there. But you must, I think Hard Rocks is great. I think Hard Rocks is great because anyone can go and put themselves out there.
We're meant to do it, dude.
Yeah. but take away the performance side for a
Bar
moment.
version of it.
Yeah, but you take away the performance side for a time being and just talk about putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Then put yourself out there.
Yeah. Agree.
I mean, there's hundreds of you. No one's watching you run. Right? You think so, but no one's watching you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
So,
The hard miles.
Are we
we'll
signing
do
up?
it.
You have to do it.
Yeah, I
let's
have
do
to do
it.
it. Later we'll know when you can record your signing up for the.
He's going to keep us accountable.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
It's on the air now.
Put comments and like,
Yeah,
hey,
it's out there now,
sign up,
guys. Yeah.
So it feels like you're breaking a lot of these boundaries at a sort of later part of your life in your career.
Yeah.
With Oxford, with weightlifting, high rocks.
Yep.
What do you think is an assumption about aging that we should challenge, right, in terms of that? Because I think people have a conventional thinking about as you get older, these are paradigms and things you should follow.
Yes. Cliche is age is just a number, right? Of course, you and I wake up in the morning, we can feel our age. Let's face it. Yeah. I think the idea is to start at any time. It's not that you must start, I should have done this at 40 or something. I come back to the idea of first and foremost, controlling your controllables. Let's not talk about whether fitness or whatever. It could be anything that you are passionate about.
Yeah.
That you might not have done since you were 20.
Yeah.
Do that first.
Yeah.
Then when you see that you can still do, and then there's some motivation around it, then hopefully that drives you to do more and more and more. I think that's the way to probably look at age.
It's a flywheel effect, actually.
Yes, and age maybe, hopefully by this time you really have some room to be a bit flexible with time or with your money or something. Use it in something that will allow you to be happy and to recognize your 20-something or your 18-year-old self or 16-year-old self and build on that. I think that worked for me that way. I just looked at, when I was 16, could I have done that?
Yeah.
But actually, you know what? When I was 40, I was my fittest. I think I'm my strongest now. I don't think my 20-year-old self would have been that strong nor fit.
Yeah.
So
Just having this conversation before about how, like, as you get older, I think sometimes like it's the opposite of conventional thinking. You feel like you feel better, you fitter. I don't know.
Absolutely. I feel
More clearer. There's more clarity.
clearest, fittest, healthiest at the moment.
Yeah. But it comes with intention, alright?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It didn't happen just like that.
Absolutely.
But I think it comes to all the stuff, all the experience as well, the acceptance of certain things. And
I mean, look, we have a finite amount of time in this world.
Yeah.
I work backwards. I always start with, okay, I'm going to die. And then what I'm going to do?
Sorry, say that again.
I'm going to die.
Yeah.
But what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So you can say I'm a fatalist.
Yeah.
But
it's a good construct still.
I'm not looking at it in a negative way.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, okay, while I have my time here, I'm nobody in this world. What can I do to maybe,
mental more.
I mean, as you get to a certain point, right? I mean, prior to that, you are always relying on either ability or having some kind of passion. And hopefully at some point you go, I'm going to build a discipline to keep it going, right? And I think that's what helps you sustain, right? More than anything else.
Discipline is freedom.
Yeah. Discipline is freedom. I like that.
If you want to be fit, then you need discipline, right? Then what does it give you? The freedom to do anything you want.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, the starting point.
I've been thinking about that kind of like recently as well. Actually, a lot of it is things that are obvious to all of us, but a lot of people don't do it. Like getting enough sleep, eating properly,
Yeah.
staying healthy, getting exercise.
Yeah.
It's like the things that everybody knows. It's obvious to everyone.
Yeah.
But not many people do it.
Yeah. And it's also broken windows syndrome, right? The moment you fix one, everything kind of helps. And I've been thinking about sleep a lot as well. The moment you sleep, you're waking up early and you can exercise. Exercise, you're clearer.
Yeah, there's the one decision you can make that will just make everything else maybe easier.
Break it down to the path of least resistance and just start with something first. The rest will roll.
Yeah.
And then surround yourself with people that values these kind of things also. And it's okay at 50 to still decide who are your friends or who are not your friends.
Yes.
Because now you really want to optimize the amount of time you have left.
Yeah.
Like it's about time left. How do you want to get there?
Yeah, and time left. And, sadly at our age, we tend to attend more funerals than not.
Yep.
Because we also have got younger people, unfortunately, also leaving way too soon.
Yep.
But when I attend the wakes, if with my time, the conversations I want my friends to have will be what? And I much rather, when my friends come together, it's more like a gathering of friends.
Yeah.
And celebrating a few things I've done in my life.
Yeah.
And that's that. Then move on. So I'm very cognizant of that.
Yeah. To the people who are listening to this, again, we want to talk about change and reinvention and all that. And for some people, and we've talked about this, who feel like it's too late, right? I'm too far down, too much responsibilities.
Yeah.
What's your advice to those people?
I think if you look at the people that you love the most and ask yourself, what do you have to do? Then do it. Because if there's no better reason to change, it's the people that you care for the most to make that first step. But of course, as we know in coaching, there's also a framework around change, right? You must be ready, willing, and capable, right? In that sense. So are you ready? Are you willing? And are you capable, right? If you're ready, great. If you're willing, great. Then you need to find the resources to make sure that change lasts and is sustainable.
Yeah.
If you're not ready or willing, then to have the outcomes thinking about I need to sleep more, I need to do this more, then it's really thinking about the outcome, even putting in the hard work.
Yeah.
If it were so easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yeah.
But if you use the lens of something that's truly important to you as a person first, and you say that's important enough for me to make one small change, then I think just do that.
I mean, it's a quote, right? It's not that you don't have enough time, it's just that this is not important enough.
Yeah, or we put barriers that are there that would not allow us to do one or two things that moves the needle. And we are always thinking of the outcome, but we're not enjoying the journey.
Yes.
And the process of the journey is painful and whatever. But then that comes back again to what we said just now, right? About the people around you.
Yeah.
So then you find your trap.
Yeah.
And then life changes again.
Yeah.
And you can keep going that way. Life will always be spicy that way, right?
Yeah, man.
Then okay lah.
That's the fun of it.
That's the fun of it, right?
Yeah.
Thoughts that constantly in my head.
Love
Not
it.
that death is always in my head.
It's a reminder.
It's a reminder.
Reminder, yeah.
We don't live forever.
That's the constant, right? That's
Even with AI also, I cannot have a digital twin of myself. I wouldn't want I think.
No.
It's like Confucius quote, right? Everybody has two lives, and your second one starts when you realize you only have one.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
My
I
third
like
one.
that.
My third one's in Notion.
Another agent.
Agent, remind your son. Every day I will come and haunt you.
Black Mirror. Black
Very,
Mirror
very,
stuff.
Yeah.
I have one last question for you.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Going back to advertising,
Yeah.
somebody going into school and says, "I want to get into advertising."
Yep.
What's your advice?
I give you two versions so you can edit.
We'll cut the don't out.
Firstly, don't join advertising.
Yeah.
Advertising has given me everything that I have today, right? Both my parents are teachers. It's not like I come from money or anything like that. So I think I've been fortunate enough to have met good people along the way that have guided my journey. And therefore, success didn't come by myself. It came with many, many different people. And then I think today where I am is a combination of all that. So if you want to be in advertising, I think you must ask yourself, firstly, whether you have a good enough pool of people that you feel that you can get the best advice and best support or not. Because this business demands almost everything, as we know, especially in the early years. Right? We all know that you can't run away from the hard yards. And then if you're going to do the hard yards, then ask yourself, are you going to do this because you just want to be just looking at the craft of work but can they take you somewhere else also or not? Or do you want to be on the business side of things, and then what do you need to do there? But when I come back to friends and influencers, it's only because then I think in this business, psychological safety may not always exist properly. Because you're so driven by margins and all that. It's not to say the organizations don't want to have it. It's just the way the business is at the stage it is today, where the industry is today. I mean, I'm the neon boy. Of course I would encourage it. Of course I will. But when I do that, I try to do it in a way that will empower them to have their own ownership of their own decisions that they take. And if they want, they can do that, then I think it'll be great. Then they don't succumb to the not so great parts of the industry. Right? So you have to build that. And you must be in places that you start that allows you to build that resilience and the ability to own certain things and to chart your path and to take opportunities and then get to the top. And I think that's important. So no, but if you really want to, then I think those are the things that are important. Now, if I were to spin it the other way around and to wear my other hat and say, come join the industry, I think it's at the interesting tipping point of where creativity is augmented with technology. I think that if you are the sort of individual that we really need in an industry where you want to change the world, then come into this industry and change the world with the understanding of using technology to further the quality of work that actually is being delivered. Not to forget, the parts about performance marketing and all that, but to really try to come in and enhance the stories and help brands have a true point of view, help brands to be a lot more transparent. We haven't talked about this, but a big passionate point about me is like, the LLMs, brands must be hyper transparent, right? The radicalness around transparency is important because every time a company gets sued, LLMs will pick it up. If I'm a clever person, I'll say, okay, how many lawsuits does this particular brand have? Oh, I don't want to buy this brand anymore. You can't hide anymore. The brands have to have radical transparency around their sourcing, their this and that, right? So I think that's why I say it's exciting because if you want to be part of the journey to help brands become better, corporations to become better, I mean, that's a big ask. Whether on client side or agency side, then yes, sir. Then take the journey and enjoy the adventure because I would love to see what that would look like.
Very cool.
As opposed to come in and just be part of the process. If you want to come into this industry, be a game changer. Don't just take the ride. Don't just come in and say, oh wow, that works so nice, I want to do that. No, man. It's like, I could have done better. How could I have changed this? How can I make it better? How can I be more truthful to what it really needs to be? Because if you're starting, you should be pure. You should just go for it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Very cool.
So inspiring.
Two things.
Great stories.
See which one you will choose.
We'll pick one.
Pick one.
Version A, version B, people choose.
Don't come in.
A/B testing.
A/B testing.
One will block off the Nyan side.
Yes. But it is a wonderful industry. I mean, I just really want to see how far human capital can go with it, right? I mean, we don't design rockets. We're not in the medical field where we come up with new things to save lives and all that. But surely we can
do better,
right? Surely.
You just inspire me to think of something, right? A lot of the work we talk about is what technology, robotics, all this stuff.
Yes.
But it just forces us to be a lot more human about things.
Go read Aristotle, guys.
Yeah.
Go back to that, really.
Go back to that basics.
100%.
Yeah.
But we really have to think about us as human beings and what does it mean to live in community.
Yes.
And then we think about the ethics around that. Then you ask yourself, have we steered so far away?
Yeah.
Because we use technology and robots as our de facto shield.
Yes.
To be vulnerable as human beings and say, hey, I need help. Hey, can you help me? Hey, I don't think I'm successful. We talk about levelers a lot, and we talk about death a lot today. But it is a leveler. It's a true leveler.
All right.
Cool.
Very cool. Well, thanks, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Here,
Thank you. I know I went totally. These are off script, right?
It's called Offscript. It's for a reason.
You were bang on it.
Bang on.
Super off script.
Super cool. Well, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for that, guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
We'll leave your socials and all that in the comments and all that.
Thank you. Yes,
so
you want to follow my weightlifting journey, please, Mr. Paul Soon.
We'll hook you guys all up on the chats and on the comments and all that. But thank you so much.
No, thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Cool. I think that's a wrap.
That's
it. Yeah, done.